What's up, everyone, and welcome to Clear Talk. It is a fire pit time again. In today's video, we're going to be updating on the Middle East. And what is our update? Basically that the United States has been revealed as the biggest paper tiger of all paper tigers that ever paper tigered. Okay? We should quite frankly be embarrassed at this point. And we're going to talk about it. So thank you very much for joining me. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you would like to check out more from the channel, there's links in the description down below for this channel and all my other channels. So be sure to check all of those out. That would be amazing. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff to get more videos in front of more people. If you would like to, after doing all that, if you would like to go further, there's a link for Patreon down there. $2 a month to support any of the channels that you would like, to help grow those channels, help grow Patreon, help grow JMD Nation, and contribute to that growth how you would like to. There's also a link for merch down there. I have merch for every single channel. If you're a Patreon member, you get a discount on that merch. So another reason to become a Patreon member. But either way, any support you decide to give is very much appreciated, and I thank you very much. And if you're returning, you're freaking amazing. Welcome back, and keep coming back, because you're what makes JMD Nation. So, alright, let's get to it. Middle East. What we have had happen, basically, we had the big skirmish of us, attacking for the 14 straight days, and then it was a bit of a chill, and then we had a couple of attacks happen. Iran did the very first offensive attack that they have actually done in this war. Again, where they attacked Jordan. Okay, they hit a U.S. base in Jordan. And understand, I feel like it's never stressed enough, because the media doesn't seem to full on really stress this to the American people. It's just because it always comes out, especially anything that the administration says, but even some of our media, when Iran is attacking these other nations, these neighboring nations, they're not attacking the nations. They're attacking U.S. bases, okay? They have destroyed and damn near eliminated almost every U.S. base in the region, okay? So when it's being stated that Iran is attacking all its neighbors, and oh my gosh, look at them, they must hate all their neighbors. They're threatened. These are supposed to be their Arab friends, and they're threatening them all. No, they're not. They're bombing the fucking bases, okay? And but outside of that, they're also, outside of the bases, what they've also attacked is infrastructure, okay? Okay, granted, yes, infrastructure is supposed to be off hands, but the U.S. has attacked infrastructure, so therefore, in order for the U.S., for the global economy to, feel enough pressure, feel enough pain, all right, the only way Iran can strategically think that, or strategically organize something that would, and retaliate in a way that would cause that pain, that would cause that, is to attack infrastructures, oil infrastructures, okay, to really put a stress on the oil market, which has been the biggest thing that Iran has been able to control and actually inflict, reasonable pain on the entirety of the world, really. Because, at this point, we kind of have to blame almost everybody for this. Even though the United States and Israel have been the main, and they've taken the brunt of all of the majority of the fault in everything that has happened here. But the reluctancy of a lot of other nations to actually do things to try to stop it, okay? You can argue that I would even say that there has been more pressure from members of the Middle East at this point that have applied more actual pressure on the United States to try to tone this down than even outside players. It is, yes, there's been a lot of verbal suggestions and verbal, like, y'all should really stop this. But as far as actual, like, measures that they could take to, apply pressure, that really hasn't been that much, in my opinion. So there, so Iran has every right and thought of, what, if the world's going to literally sit back and watch all of the genocide that Israel has done in Palestine, what they, have done in Gaza, what they've done in the Middle East, I'm sorry, the West Bank, what they've done in Lebanon, and then they're going to sit back and watch the United States start an illegal war with Iran, and bombing all kinds of areas all over the place. The little girl's school right off the bat that got bombed, killing 160 plus little girls. Just recently, there was last week, there was a 2,000-pound bomb dropped, damn near in the middle of nowhere, in this little town, that killed a family. Okay, the crater was massive. 2,000-pound bomb that killed a family of 3, a husband, wife, and child. I think the child was like 3 years old or something like that. No kind of military installation or anything even close to the area. Just so, where do we? Or was this a mistake? Was this bad intelligence? I mean, then again, they've already thrown out the girls' school in the beginning as a bad intelligence thing. How are we really going to continue to make all these mistakes and say that it's bad intelligence? Then you got to start to question the United States' intelligence. I mean, especially when, and then in comparison to Iran, when Iran is precisely attacking and hitting, things on the dot. U.S. bases, infrastructure pieces. They have not really made any mistake in this at all in their targets. But yet the United States, over and over, and this latest one with the 2,000-pound bomb, this created it's something that reflects what Israel has done. The kinds of things Israel has done in Palestine, and things that they've done in Lebanon. It reflects that, just sort of blatant dropping massive stuff to obliterate and destroy areas, families, for no fucking apparent reason whatsoever. It is disgusting. It is ridiculous. This is what ultimately is starting to happen. Like, if we ran out of things to hit, which again, our military has already stated, there's nothing else to do. We have hit every reasonable possible thing that we could hit that we thought would do some sort of, inflict enough impact on the Iranian regime that they would, eventually, that they would capitulate and give in to our demands. But yet that has not happened. We are taking out and dismantling them and their ability. That was all a lie. They have perfectly sound ability to continue doing what they're doing, and they've shown that. And so now you had Trump continuing again to bluster out his regurgitative mouth of threats, threatening some massive ass attack on Iran at the end of last week, or the beginning of this weekend, which wound up causing then Iran to put out a list of places that, if this were to happen, this is what we're going to do. And many of those places listed was in Saudi Arabia, along with a couple other locations and stuff, which then turned around and caused Saudi Arabia themselves, MBS, to specifically approach Washington, begging for this to not happen. And a couple of other nations around there begging for this to not happen, for the United States to back up begging for us to reconsider and to try our best to lower the tensions and find some kind of way to uh, make a deal. Okay, they're pressuring, and we've seen Trump here lately. He's constantly arguing and saying, Iran wants to make a deal. Iran must. He's been saying that for months. And Iran is, we know, we've had the reports that Iran has nothing, they're not interested in talking to the United States. They're not interested in making a deal. They are on their own, making their own talks and conversations with Oman over the Strait of Hormuz, and trying to work out, a deal with them on the future of the Strait of Hormuz, and how situations that of the Strait of Hormuz pre-war and all that is not ever going to go back, and that we're never going to see the pre-war conditions of that area and the situation there around oil and the exports and imports and all that. They've stated that over and over and over and over again. And at this point, there's no reason to believe the United States and this administration and the threats and things being said and argued by Trump and his administration over Iran at this point, because Iran has been way more accurate. They have been way more reasonable, and it is becoming more and more obvious that Iran has been resisting and has actually been beneficial to the U.S. And holding itself back, because it clearly could have and could still create and apply the pressure and destruction that we have not seen yet. They have been holding back and being patient and basically letting the United States and this administration fold upon itself, which we are seeing more and more and more. All of this threat, all of this talk, all of this time, decades and decades and decades, that the United States has been arguing, the government has been arguing for your taxpayers to, for your tax money to make this military the largest, biggest, most expensive military in the history of the world, being able to take on all these different fronts and be able to take on all these different people all at the same fucking time. Billions upon billions upon billions of money and all of this infrastructure of the military, weaponry, and everything else, so that we could, have this threat and have this demeanor, have this, illusion of being so dangerous and so powerful, and that nobody should mess with us, and everybody should make all the deals that they possibly can with, because you never know, you don't really want to get in a fight with us. And that's the reason why the United States has never actually pressed, especially here in the last couple of decades, that much on a country like Iran. Like we know, or there have been plenty of times where people have tried to pressure the United States, the war hawks, the Iran, Israel lobby, and everything else has come to president after president, go after Iran, go after Iran, go after Iran, and our intelligence, our military personnel and commanders, the administrations have, with intelligence and data and knowledge for that, we have seen strategy. It has been, no, we can't do this. This would not help us whatsoever. In fact, I would at this point argue that the reasons they have said no is because they knew that we would be revealed as a paper tiger at this point. But this administration and the buffoonery of it, the likes of Donald Trump, who can be pressured or talked, convinced into anything, especially if it makes him think he looks good or pressures him or protects him. When we're talking about, like, I don't know, Epstein shit, by the Israeli lobby, that they have foolishly gotten ourselves into this. And now they quite literally do not know what to do. And I do not even mean that like, and by my own just opinions and thoughts. There have now been uh, uh, information revealed by CNN and others that there are officials within the Pentagon that are releasing that there were internal emails that were sent asking for suggestions on how to bring pain on Iran. The upper strong minds, military trained, skilled, have been doing this for years. Those that are left in positions that haven't been fired, they're sitting up there in the top echelons of the Pentagon, and they quite literally do not know what the fuck to do with Iran at this point. We have exhausted all of the their thoughts and ideas, and apparently decades of intelligence and training and strategizing over the possibility of ever going to the war with Iran. All that has been thrown out the window now, because none of that apparently is working and hasn't worked. And so now they're quite literally sending emails around to all the military troops, U.S. troops, begging for suggestions on strategy to Iran. This is embarrassing. This is absolutely embarrassing that we're literally, quite literally, going around and asking, because we clearly don't know what the fuck we're doing. We clearly don't know what to do. This administration has backed itself into a corner where we have exhausted all of our options, all of our ideas, and at this point, even a lot of most of our military might, because we know that interceptors are extremely low, even though Trump continuously acts and says that it's not. We know that it is. We have, all countries like the UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait are actually begging us to escalate, because they are being left here begging for more interceptors and more, military armament, because they feel threatened, and because they know those are basically U.S. puppeted governments. Okay, they do the bidding of the United States, because and they understand most of these countries in the Middle East, the governments that are in control are not actually liked by their people. They are in control because they have the money, the power, and everything else, but the people actually don't really like them. This is known knowledge. But the governments use the United States to stay in power because of protectionism. Because they're willing, that's the only reason why they actually stay legitimate in their countries, because they have the backing, quote unquote, of the United States and protections of those governments in any possible exterior threat. But now it has been revealed that the United States can't protect them, because they are constantly getting bombed by Iran, and we now are, we don't even have enough interceptors to like successfully protect any nation, much less our own bases at this point. Because, again, it's already been also released that the United States, that when it comes to interceptors, because we're so low, we're having to quite literally decide on what missiles to actually interfere with and what missiles to just let go, because at this point we're so low on defense weaponry and interceptors that we're really only we're trying to save and hold back on that inventory as much as possible. So we are quite literally only defending and protecting and intercepting anything that looks like it might actually hurt or might actually cause physical U.S. troop, injury or death. So if there's no threat of a U.S. military troop actually being hurt, then they're quite literally letting the missile go by. Because we're that low on interceptors. So this is not to protect the countries, not to protect, any of its people. So now those countries can no longer argue their legitimacy of United States protection to their people. So they're actually coming to us trying to argue that we actually escalate and actually put an end to Iran, retaliation, to make Iran actually pay to the point that they quite literally can't retaliate, which would mean we would have to aggress to a level that nobody in the United States actually wants that to happen, just so that they can maintain their legitimacy and power. So there's a conflict going on in the Middle East where you have a few states trying to make us aggress. You have states like Saudi Arabia being like, whoa, hold up. If you do aggress, then we are the ones that are actually going to be the most attacked. So that doesn't need to happen. And all of this is to reveal that we don't know what we're doing. And we can no longer protect any of them. We can't even hardly protect ourselves. Military bases have been blown up and destroyed. We have no legitimacy to Iran in making any negotiation because we've continuously backed out of that. We have no ability to successfully protect anybody over there, or even Ukraine at this point, and that has been revealed. So now you're open for Russia, we've talked about this before, Russia, China, to be like, hey, the United States can't do shit at this point. We have been shown and proven that with all this military might, with all this money that we have pulled, and out of all the people, out of all of our citizens, all their taxpayer money, and all this rhetoric around protecting United States sovereignty, protecting our interests, and putting all these people in all these different things. We can't protect the waterways. We can't protect our troops. We can't protect the image of our empire, that we are so strong and so bold and so big. All of that has been shredded. All of that has been shredded. The United States empire has been completely knocked down. All of the imagination, all of the fakeness of how big and bold we are, how broad we are, has been shown to be just that, a paper tiger. All the roar, but nothing to back it up. We've talked the talk, but when it actually came to walking the walk, we were unable to do so. And it wasn't even by a major power. It wasn't even by a major power. Understand that. We didn't go to war with Russia. We didn't go to war with China. We went to war with Iran. And don't get me wrong, Iran is certainly capable. They've always been a capable nation. That's the reason why we haven't decided to do it before now. But we couldn't even take on one country, much less take on multiple. I mean, this is absolutely sad. It's absolutely sad. But understand, that doesn't mean that we need to continue to throw more and more and more. You've got the Pentagon and this administration begging and begging for, doubling and sending more money. We need more tax money. We need more tax money. We need more money, more, because we got to build all these stuff. We got to build. Blah, 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 blah. Clearly, having a massive ass military, quote unquote, with all this arsenal, is not doing anything. When Iran is quite literally basically ignoring all of these threats from this administration and having their own conversations with other nations to try to resolve and create deals and everything, completely ignoring Donald Trump's threats. Like, yeah, okay, whatever you say, bro. We're not even interested in that. We're not even concerning ourselves with that anymore. We're going to go over here and we're going to talk to the Iranians. We're going to make a deal with them about the waterways. We're going to talk with China about trade. We're going to talk with Russia about trade. We're going to talk with all these other people about trade, and we're going to make sure we're good. Everybody else is going to be fine. Y'all just keep doing your thing over there. Israel, y'all you need to figure them out. You need to handle that. They don't care. They're not concerned at all. You know how much confidence that sows in the Iranian regime, that they quite literally are not threatened by the largest, most powerful, quote unquote, military and country in the entire world. They you know how strong that makes them? That confidence on the world stage? Proving that arguably the threat that Iran did pose, the threat that nations like Israel has stated, oh, they're such a threat. Oh, they could take us out. Oh, blah, 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 blah. That in a sense, they were right, in the sense that Iran is apparently that powerful. They do have that type of capability. But up to this point, they've never actually used it. They've never actually used it. Over decades of them supposedly being such a threat. And at this point, they are proving that they quite literally are that threat, but they haven't actually been able to, or they haven't been willing to use it. They have been that reserved, that controlled, that behaviorally sound, right? They had the ability, clearly, but they haven't used it. But you know who has? The United States, Israel. We've been willing to use it over and over and over again. But yet we call them terrorists. We call them the terrorists. But yet they haven't been aggressing for decades now. They've had the ability to. But they haven't. So who's the actual terrorist here? Donald Trump put up a truth, I think just yesterday. Or maybe this morning. It may have actually been this morning. Where the lines literally was, something to the fact of, it stated, the U.S.'s military terror, strength, and capability. Donald Trump decided, or whoever writes his truths, decided to specifically use the words military terror, strings, okay, terror, when talking about the United States military. And I don't know if anybody's actually directly tried to point that out, but I found that use of words extremely interesting. To when naming and you know representing our military, the words used was military terror. This is the very first descriptor, military terror. And I can't say that I don't disagree. I can't say that I disagree, rather. Because at this point, that's quite literally what our military has been turned into. A terror, military of terror. By the influence of Israel, by the influences of the likes of Netanyahu, by the influences of the likes of our own president, and the influence that is placed upon him by Israel and Netanyahu, for whatever reasons, sheer ignorance or blatant loyalty or blackmail, I don't know. Nobody going forward is going to be afraid of the United States. Or at least nobody with any kind of military capabilities, put it that way, is going to be scared of the United States. Much like the Russia-Ukraine war has kind of put this image of Russian strength on the question and their capabilities, I think this war has revealed the United States' inability to actually protect not only its quote-unquote allies and proxy like governments that we, put in place to try to protect our interest in a particular region. We can't even protect them. We can't protect our U.S. troops. How can anybody expect us to protect them either? Anybody else? Or feel threatened by us? The argument going forward of the United States and being so powerful and you can't fuck with us, well, we blew that whole image up in a sheer 5-6 months. We have blown that up. That's what this administration has done. And the idea of might makes right and being so proud and them apparently being delusional in our actual capabilities have went unbound and uncontrolled in a manner that has blew up the entire image of the United States. So all you proud Americans out there, all you proud patriots out there who think that we're so powerful, and you have marched in step with this administration and calling for it to continue what it's been doing in the aggression, calling for, and defending, the American military power. And oh yes, we're so strong. Take the Iranians out. Take all these other people out. Oh, ho, 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 ho. How do you feel now? How do you feel now? I wouldn't be so certain anymore. I would not be so certain anymore. Maybe, just maybe, think about this for a second. Maybe, instead of trying to be a big ass bully, okay, maybe it's time that we actually do what I've been trying to, and many on the left have been trying to say for a long time now. Maybe we should actually move into trying to be truly diplomatic. Show true respect and sovereignty for all these countries, for all these governments, for those in power. Respect for their borders. Letting them work out their own issues internally with themselves. Stop trying to police everybody. Stop trying to act like the world enforcement or the world bullies, and actually just work out relations, be nice, be kind. The strategy that, say, China has been doing for a while now. And data has shown that they've been highly successful with. The ability of trade and, what has grown their country's economy and GDP and everything has been around being the nice guys. The military might, the might makes right, the strongman bullying days of wielding power are over. The world has changed. People are tired of being threatened. People are tired of being bullied. It's time that our military and our mindset and how a government stays strong and powerful, being a bully, needs to learn from all of the all of the programs and stuff from the 90s, 2000s around, not allowing your kids to be bullied, trying to fight against bullying in schools and all this kind of stuff. All that stuff that we tried to teach, in the public sphere about not allowing bullies to just do whatever they want. We need to, the military, the administration, the government, and its mindset on how to actually maintain power or maintain legitimacy or, maintain relationships, grow relationships. Maybe we need to learn from that. Bullying is no longer acceptable. It's time to actually be diplomatic and reasonable and nice and kind. China's proven that. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you think. And until next time, peace, ClearTalk, I'm out.